The impact of culturally relevant pedagogy on minority student motivation. Orientation. Growing class diversity. Classroom diversity is increasing, and this requires teachers to reevaluate methods and practices to best serve all of their students. This specifically impacts history or social studies classes where difficult content needs to be addressed both more accurately and also in a more culturally sensitive and responsive manner. Ladson-Billings defines cultural pedagogy as culturally relevant teaching as a pedagogy of opposition, not unlike critical pedagogy, but specifically committed to collective, not merely individual, empowerment. Culturally relevant pedagogy rests on 3 criteria or propositions. First, students must experience academic success. Second, students must develop and/or maintain cultural competence. And third, students must develop a critical consciousness through which they challenge the status quo of the current social order. The research questions: what differences, if any, exist between how minority and white students experience social studies classes, specifically social studies because of the content that is covered, and in a diverse class it's very, the potential for issues is increased. And how can motivation be increased by incorporating teaching practices focused on cultural sensitivity? The literature review is broken down into 3 sections: cultural identity, relevant pedagogy, and teacher awareness. As far as cultural identity, students do not instinctively know how to interact and behave with people who are culturally or socially different from them. As supported by research, these social constructs and the interactions they lead to can be affected by mindset, and aiding students in developing a positive multicultural mindset is beneficial across the board. So people's interactions develop their social identity, and their social identity is part of their cultural identity, and it behooves teachers to aid students in this, both in their relationships between each other, student to student, student to teacher, teacher to parent, and student to parent. The relevant pedagogy, the best methods for ensuring student growth and success. Literature provides several methods of addressing multicultural learners that help them better understand the intersection of cultures. And teacher awareness. Individuals are naturally partial to that which is familiar, and without intentionally striving to acknowledge and honor all cultures in a classroom, it is easy to fall into the practice of focusing on the primary culture. And as most teachers are white women, that is what they are more easily to fall into a pattern of teaching what they know, the way they were taught, which may connect with some of the white students in their classroom, but most classrooms nowadays are not just white students, and even if they are, just because they share skin color does not mean their culture is exactly the same. So teachers need to be aware of these differences. The research design will be based on an interpretive paradigm, which portrays a world in which reality is socially constructed, complex, and ever-changing. The qualitative research will be interviews and observation. The participants are 8th grade students currently enrolled in Georgia Studies at a Viking middle school, we'll call it. This research will include 10 females and 10 males, a mix of white, black, and Hispanic students from gifted, regular education, and co-taught classes. This selection represents the population and is best suited to address the research questions. Validity and ethics. The potential threat to this research is the impact of familiarity between the students and the researcher, as I teach at the school where I will be doing the research. To guard against this, I will select students based on recommendations from the classes of the other 2 Georgia Studies teachers. I will not include my own students in there in order to lessen the likelihood that they will say what they think I want to hear, and more soundly research the questions. Positionality. My positionality means that I will be viewing students as a product of their experiences and interactions, and I may be more likely to see connections between the 2. Significance. Student awareness of their cultural identity is an ever-evolving process, and culturally responsive pedagogy can both help that process and build upon it. However, it is imperative that teachers are given better guidance and resources to gain confidence and competence in utilizing culturally responsive pedagogy. Simply hearing the word or being told what it is isn't enough. Information identified through this research could help researchers better determine how students are impacted by their teachers' attention to cultural differences in the classroom. This could allow the researcher to theorize ways to better engage and motivate all students, particularly those in a diverse classroom. The evidence provided will expectantly support the necessity of incorporating cultural awareness into classrooms from elementary level all the way to college pre-service teacher programs. The implications. I hope to gain a deeper understanding of how to connect to students who come from a variety of backgrounds, many of which are completely unlike my own background. My research will contribute additional viewpoints on the effects and impact of culturally relevant and/or responsive pedagogy. I believe the community will gain the understanding of how students of differing backgrounds respond to teaching methods. And information identified could help researchers better determine how students are impacted by their teachers' attention to cultural differences in the classroom. Thank you.